What's going on, guys? I'm back at it again with another video talking about a UA card that I don't play in the deck, but we're going to see how good the card actually is. We're talking about UA Locker Room. This is a quick play spell card with the effect that follows. Target one UA or FA monster you control or in your graveyard, add it to the hand, and if you do, you gain 500 life points, and then you can apply this effect. Reveal any number of UA or FA monsters in your hand, shuffle them into the deck, then draw cards equal to the number of shuffled cards. You can only activate one UA Locker Room per turn. So this card is a card to unbrick your hand. If you've got too many UA monsters in your hand, you can shuffle them back into the deck and draw cards. I've never seen a use for this card when I've played a normal variant of UA. With the Assault build and a combo build, I can sort of understand the use for this card, because with Assault you're adding a card but you're also linking away a UA, so that's two cards in your hand already that are UA monsters. If you've already got a card in hand from a UA Stadium Search, that's three cards that you're shuffling away and you are regaining cards and advantage. Maybe it's hand traps, maybe it's extenders. I can see maybe a use for this card, but that's what we're going to test out today. We're going to see how useful this card is in a UA build. So guys, here we are into the deck list as always. This deck is slightly different. It is TCG legal, unlike the UA build that I prefer with Heroic Call and Senko. This one is TCG legal because we've changed the cards. Obviously, instead of Senko, we're playing Parallel Exceed and then Free Locker Room instead of Heroic Call, but we're going to go over that. The only other card that is in here that isn't TCG legal right now is Zelantis, but you can easily swap that out for Borrelsword Dragon. I just like to have the card in the extra rep, just I think it's funny to change it in from Apollousa into this. So we're going to go over card by card. It's pretty standard for me, this one is. So 2 Iris, 2 Manager, standard ratios there. 2 Parallel Exceed. This is a card that is an extender that we can draw off Locker Room if we're lucky, and if not, we're always link summoning. So Exceed in the hand is pretty good for us, as well as it's just free extension. 1 Dunker, 1 Blockbacker, 1 Rebounder, 1 Scythe, 1 Ace, 3 Spiker, 2 Midfielder. Standard ratios there for us. 3 Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. This is a way to go into Psychic End Punisher, but we are not going to talk about that in this video. We're going to talk about that in another video about Psychic End Punisher. But this is our add-off Kristalline Hulk Firebrax. 2 Renowned. I know I usually play a Fireflint here, but this is a good way to go into Hulk straight away, because Renowned summon off is sold to add Durandal from a graveyard to hand. Then using Durandal, we can special summon Renowned as a tuner and go into Hulk with the 2 of them, which is really cool because we can get Ogre, and Ogre can be another point of interaction on our side of a field if we don't link it away, which is also really cool. So I enjoy that interaction there. 2 Effect Veiler, 3 Goods, 3 Signing Deal is standard. 3 Locker Room. This is a bit obvious change for Heroic Call, but this is the TCG legal part. Heroic Call is the card that we've taken out to swap for Locker Room, and when that does come out, I don't know when it comes out, it will be an auto include in the deck anyway. But for now, it's 3 Locker Room just to test it out, to see if it's viable in UA, which is going to be really awesome. 1 Durandal, 3 Hype Stadium, 3 Normal Stadium, 2 Penalty Block. That is our standard ratio. And then we're going into the extra deck, Psychic End Punish, but we've spoke about this. We are going to talk about this card in another video coming up soon. 1 Baron de Fleur, of course, from our TG Wonder Edition. Zeus, Dingirsu, John Graper, Underworld Goddess, Zelantis, but of course we spoke about this. This could be Borrelsword Dragon to make it TCG legal. 1 Access Code Talker, 1 Bow of a Goddess, 1 Blackluster Soldier of Chaos, 1 Isolde, of course, makes the whole deck tick along. 1 Dagda. We're playing Dagda and Cypher as long as they are still legal in the TCG, because this is a great way for UA to contend. And 1 Kristalline Hulk Firebrax and 1 Masquerena. So this is the deck profile. It looks slightly different, but a little bit the same. A bit more extension, and then Locker Room, of course, is going to enter, and we're going to see if it's viable. I'm going to show you what Locker Room does for the deck, and we're going to talk about if the Locker Room can just be a mainstay in the deck. Here we are, guys, going into our games and our replays, showing you what the deck is capable of. With Locker Room as well. So obviously you're not always going to have Locker Room in your hand, so we're going to have to search it sometimes. So this is one where we searched it with the goods, and we're going into our standing Isolde, so we're going to Isolde with the 2, being able to get Dunker, and we've got Manager in the graveyard, so we're going to get Manager back to the hand with Locker Room and shuffle 4 UAs away, which is sort of crazy to do really. You're shuffling 4 and you're regaining card advantage to get that 4th card. And that's what I was talking about with the Renowned. So obviously we've got 2 Renowned, so we can go to Hulk And then we end on Dagda, Hulk, and Ogre. The Ogre, the normal summon, obviously, but we're going here Effect Veil of Air. Because obviously we've drawn into the Iris, which we didn't have. So drawing into the Iris means we've got an extra point of interaction, so we can go with Dagda, Hulk, pop in our Scythe that we've set from the Dagda, and then we've negated their monster's effect with an Effect Veiler, so we can go straight into Iris, and from there the game is pretty much over. We've got a lot of advantage gained from our locker room because of a drawn 4. And then you look at the end board we created with the Baron. We managed to Scythe lock themselves twice because we managed to destroy our Dagda, but that will be the end of the game, signaling there. But all that was made from not the best time because we didn't have the 2 stadiums, which is really good because locker room has obviously drawn us into extension with Iris. Obviously this one's slightly different because we've got Exceed in our hand, so the end board should look slightly different. And obviously we're not going to go for a locker room 4. Last time we locker roomed early. I like to locker room basically after we've got everything out from our deck. So after we've got 2 Ronaldo, after we've got Durandal, we can locker room. So we're going to locker room for 2. We've got Iris. We draw into a signing deal as well, which basically is just an extension, and it allows us to get Iris onto the field as well. We've got a Scythe lock, so we've got a Dagda, Isolde, a Hulk, an Iris, an Ogre, and then we've got an Interapalooza and a Masquerader, and they will scoop from there. So right there, the locker room helped us again get into an extension from signing deal, so it's pretty cool. But this time our hand's slightly different, obviously, with the stadiums, and we've been able to get our search. So we search for manager as well, and then this is basically being able to get into an Isolde because we're going to go manager of Liberia. That's my standard Isolde usual line. I like to send those 2 because in case we can go for heroic champion as well, because it can get our spiker back. So we go into locker room, we'll go for 4 again because with the searches we've got for stadiums. Sending 4, we're able to see a lot more cards. Obviously we don't see an extension table, this one's in here because I'd like to point out the fact we've got follow up for next turn. If we can survive this turn, which we usually do because Dagda usually buys you a turn with Scythe, so you can usually get an OTK on the next turn, especially if you go Scythe with Wonder Magician into Baron, you can usually get that extra turn going anyway. So the fact that we've drawn the follow up for next turn means we can just demolish the guy on the next turn. And obviously with Baron as well, we've got that negate, we've got a block backer, we should be pretty set up here to deal with whatever comes to us from Tribe again. And they've obviously drawn 3 carrots, so the brick is pretty strong there. Yeah, negating that puppy on the end phase there was pretty key. And then we'll go into Revolt. Obviously we're probably going to go for Shurik here for 4, but that's okay because if depending on what they pop, we've got a lot of follow. We've even drawn a manager now. That's basically full combo. That's going to be an OTK if they don't scoop already, because we'll pop a Shurik and we'll go into US Stadium and they'll scoop from there. So that was always going to be happening there. This is the one that I want to show you. This is the test hand. So this is when you've got Signing Deal Stadium, UA Hyper Stadium, and a UA in hand. So obviously it doesn't happen all the time, but this is the one that is the best that Locker Room can create for you. Depending on what you draw into, you can't schedule what you draw into, but if you draw into an extension from the Locker Room, it's pretty cool. Because obviously we've got the 2 UAs, we've got Blockbacker and Ace, which is always my standard UAs that I keep on the field, if not Spiker. But obviously we go into Ronaldo, so we're going to go into our Hulk line as well. With Locker Room, we'll activate and we'll get manager back to hand, and then we'll send all 3 and we draw into an Exceed, which is awesome because from a Hulk we can go with Ogre, we can get Dagda, we can trigger Exceed here, getting both Exceed onto the field, and we can use, with that we can set our Scythe from our Dagda, go into an IP Masquerader, pass to our opponent, Hulk effect, IP effect, going into an Appaloosa, going into a TG Wonder Magician, popping our Scythe, getting a Scythe lock, going into a Baron de Fleur, so you'll end up with a Fleur, an Appaloosa for 2, a Blockbacker and an Ace, and we have a Rebounder as well for next turn to get our manager back out onto the field, which is a crazy end board created by Locker Room. So guys, the video is find out if Locker Room was useful / viable. I think we figured out that Locker Room is usable. It is a viable option in UA in a combo build because you're able to reshuffle your hand and you're able to draw cards in retrospect to maybe getting hand traps or extenders. Is the card always going to be viable in UA? I don't know. The answer is, but to me, probably going to be no, because Heroic Call replaces a card instantly as a free of when we do get that I'm not sure Locker Room would see much play, as I've never featured it in one of my UA deck builds before. This is the first one I've featured it in, but after this I don't think I'd feature it again. I don't think I'll use it as like a staple. So for me, the card is usable, it's useful, it has some form of viability, but I think it's not quite cut it in the power level. Well, that's the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching it. Let me know what you think about a UA Locker Room, and if I've been too harsh or too nice about it. Hope you've all enjoyed it though. Thank you all for watching, and subscribe if you're not.